Everything you need to get started will be in the description below with the link. First, you're going to need a unfinished wood tray. This is already painted to quicken the video a little bit, but unfinished is just the plain wood. You'll need one dinner napkin, 3-fold. I'm going to use the sunflowers because it's summertime coming and I love sunflowers. One iron. Oops, sorry about that. One sheet of parchment paper. Your epoxy resin, 2-part clear casting, and make sure that it's clear and not quick drying. You'll need Mod Podge glue or any Elmer's glue, as long as it dries clear. A few paintbrushes. Try to get a couple of really soft ones. You'll need a heat torch that shoots out the flame, or a heat gun. The torch is a little easier, and the reason you'll need that is to blow the bubbles out of the resin once it's poured, right before it dries. And for the finishing touch, for the bottom of the tray on each corner, I love to put, and they're made by Woodpile, and these are the antique brass plated feet, and they're about $3 a pack. It just really adds a nice touch to it. Okay, so we're going to get started. First thing you're going to want to do, which is the boring part, and that's why I did it last night, is you're going to paint your entire tray white, or if you choose, you can use, I used an antique white. All right, so your paint is dry. Now what we're going to do is go ahead and add your Mod Podge or your glue. And we're going to add a very thin coat, not too thin, because you want your napkin to stay, but you don't want it real thick because then you're going to end up with some bubbles and wrinkles that you don't want. So we're going to go ahead and just pour some on the bottom. I prefer to use Mod Podge for napkins, but I'm not at my regular studio, so I have to improvise and use the Elmer's glue, which is just as good. So we'll start from the middle and work our way. Because when that glue dries, it's just going to be nice and sealed tight, and you're not going to have to worry about the resin leaking through. Glue is dry. Next step is to put the napkin on. You want your iron set to medium, no steam. While your iron's heating, we're going to separate the ply paper from your dinner napkin. First thing we're going to do is make sure it's going to fit perfectly inside your tray. And this one looks pretty good. If it isn't, go ahead and just trim a little bit off of the edge until it fits perfectly on each side. Next step, take your ply off of your napkin. Normally a dinner napkin will have 2. There's the first one. And rip it off carefully. They're pretty sturdy, but you never know. You don't want it to rip. And the second one should also come off pretty easily. If it doesn't, just go ahead and play with the corners. And there it is. This is the one you want to be a little careful with. You don't want it to rip. You can always go to your party supply store. They have some pretty good napkins. looks perfect. Okay, you're going to place your napkin down on your tray. And this one is a little wider, so I need to make sure that I have equal sides right there, because once you start the iron and the glue gets hot, you can't move it. Yep, that looks pretty good. Tear off a piece of parchment paper. And you want to try not to move it as you're laying it down. That looks pretty good. And I'm going to hold it on this side to make it sure it doesn't move. And remember, no steam. And just work your way around. And just glide it over until it starts to get hot and the glue will stick directly to the napkin. And you should not have any wrinkles or bubbles. Yeah, it feels pretty hot, good. Let's go ahead and check, make sure that we got every spot. That looks really pretty. We need to make sure that this is going to be level. That looks good. That looks good. Perfect. Okay. That little wad of tissues or hand towels is what did it. It's perfect now. We're going to go ahead and mix our resin. I'm using the amazing Clearcast 2-part clear coating, and make sure that it has 8 fluid ounces per bottle, because you're going to need a total of 8 ounces, which is half of each bottle for this tray. Be sure you have your gloves on. I'm going to use a heat gun instead of a torch because I can't find my torch. And a mask, because you don't want to breathe those fumes in. Your measuring cup. Michael sells these in their stores. Make sure you don't have any dust in your cup. Just blow it out. And your mixing stick. Okay. Start with my casting resin first. Please wear gloves because this stuff is horrible to get off your hands. The resin is nice and clear. There's no streaks, no more cloudiness. It looks pretty good. So we're ready to pour it. And plugged my heat gun in. This heat gun I got from, I believe, Michael's. And stay there. Okay, so we're going to start pouring really slowly from the middle. me get on this side. Excuse me. This is going to look just like a beautiful sheet of glass on here. I hope I made enough. If not, we'll just make some more. You don't want to put it on too thick at first because then you're going to have a whole lot of bubbles. Unless you have the deep pour resin, because you're just going to be standing there for a very long time getting bubbles out. Just going to let it fall to this side. And that corner. I don't want a really thick resin top. I just want this napkin to shine. The middle. Okay, now we're going to get these air bubbles out. The resin dried overnight and I think it looks absolutely gorgeous. Like a sheet of glass. A few little things of lint in there. Can't control it all. But there's no bubbles. Hope you guys did not run into any problems. If you did, just leave your comments and I'll help you out through it next time. It's not really thick. It's just a nice little sheet of glass look to pop those flowers out, and absolutely no leaks through the wood because we sealed a little bit extra with the glue. So let's continue. Before I add the feet, so what I want to do is add a little bit of a vintage look, and I do that by using my Tim Holtz Ranger Distress inks, and I'm going to give it like a weathered look. If I could find the yarn. Is that it? Yeah, it works really well on this wood. So we're going to put our little pad on, and we're just going to go around the edges, and I'm going to blot it on the tissue first just to make sure we don't get it too dark. I may have to wet this with some alcohol, or maybe not. Come on, cooperate. Oh, there you go. Nice. Okay. Remember to always cover it immediately after so they don't dry out. Start right around the side here. And you don't want too much, but you want enough to make it look like it's been around a while. And you'll see what I mean, what a difference it makes. I usually do this on all of my finished wood. Okay, take your metal feet out of the package. Now with the shorter trays like this, I like to use the smaller feet. They're not so flashy. Some of them are very huge and it just doesn't look right on some projects. To each his own, and just choose whatever you would like. I chose this color because it kind of matches the sunflower on mine. And you're going to see how gorgeous it looks after. Yeah, I don't think we're going to be using all these screws. Maybe a couple. Believe me, these stay on nicely. And obviously, you know not to put this in the dishwasher because it's wood. And if you need to clean it, you're going to clean it with a very damp cloth. Okay, to start, we're going to put a little dab right on the sides there. Dripping good. And just hold it in place. And you're going to do this on all 4 of the sides.